The house looked perfect from the outside. Fresh-cut grass, clean windows, children's bikes lying near the porch, a family photo still hanging beside the front door. But inside, every room held the silence of something too terrible to imagine. 3 people were gone, and the man neighbors described as quiet, polite, and loving was nowhere to be found. How does someone kiss their children goodnight, then become their killer before sunrise? What drives someone to destroy the very people they once promised to protect? Tonight, we enter one of the darkest questions in true crime history, a question that has haunted investigators, psychologists, and grieving families for decades. Because family murder doesn't begin with blood, it begins with secrets. And by the end of this story, you may realize the warning signs were there all along. But no one saw them until it was too late. It was just after 6:15 a.m. when police received a frantic call from a woman named Teresa Hall. Her voice shook as she spoke. She had come to check on her daughter, Emily, after repeated calls went unanswered. Emily was a devoted mother of 2. She never ignored messages, never missed school drop-offs, never disappeared. When Teresa arrived, the front door was unlocked. Inside, the television was still on. A bowl of cereal sat soggy on the kitchen table. And upstairs, she found a scene that would shatter her forever. Emily lay motionless in the bedroom. 7-year-old Noah was found in the hallway. 4-year-old Lily was in her room, still clutching a stuffed rabbit. There were no signs of forced entry, no robbery, no struggle that suggested a stranger had come in. Only one person was missing, Emily's husband, Daniel Hall. And within hours, police launched a nationwide search. Neighbors were stunned. Daniel coached youth soccer. He fixed bikes for neighborhood kids. He waved every morning before work. He adored those children, one neighbor said through tears. But detectives quickly uncovered something chilling. The perfect family image was a performance. Behind closed doors, Daniel's life was collapsing. Debt collectors had been calling for months. His company had recently downsized, and Daniel was on the verge of losing his job. Emily had discovered hidden credit cards, unpaid loans, and gambling losses. Friends later said she had begun talking about separation. She wanted out, and Daniel knew it. That's when investigators asked a horrifying question. Did Daniel kill his family because he feared losing them, or because he saw them as obstacles to escaping his own failure? For 2 days, the country watched the manhunt unfold. Then Daniel's SUV was found abandoned near a wooded highway rest stop nearly 200 miles away. Inside were family photos, a half-empty gas can, and a handwritten note. But the note raised more questions than answers. It read, "I'm sorry, I ruined everything." No explanation, no confession, no mention of his wife or children, just 6 words. Search teams combed the forest. Helicopters scanned rivers. But Daniel had vanished, and that mystery only deepened public obsession. Because when family killers disappear, people wonder, are they dead? Are they hiding? Or are they watching the chaos they created? Months later, psychologists began analyzing the case publicly. They pointed to a disturbing pattern seen in many family annihilators. Some killers do not see their family as independent human beings. They see them as extensions of themselves. Their success proves their worth. Their obedience reflects control. Their love feeds ego. But when finances crumble, when divorce looms, when shame becomes unbearable, they may choose destruction over humiliation. In their twisted logic, if they cannot keep the family, no one can. And Daniel Hall fit that profile almost perfectly. He had become obsessed with appearances. He lied constantly to maintain status. He feared being exposed more than anything. To outsiders, losing a marriage might seem painful. To someone driven by pride and control, it can feel like annihilation. And sometimes they strike first, but then came a shocking twist. 8 months after the murders, a clerk at a truck stop in another state recognized Daniel from a televised special. Police rushed to the location. Security footage showed a man resembling him buying coffee at 3:12 a.m. Baseball cap low, head down, still alive, still free. The man disappeared before officers arrived. Now fear spread nationwide. If Daniel could hide for 8 months, where was he sleeping? Who was helping him? And what kind of man buys breakfast after murdering his family? Tips flooded in from across the country. Sightings in motels. Sightings at bus stations. Sightings near border towns. Most were false. But one investigator noticed something others missed. Daniel had once spoken often about starting over in a coastal town where nobody asks questions. That town became the center of a quiet surveillance operation. For weeks, nothing happened. Then one rainy evening, officers saw a man exiting a bait shop carrying groceries. Older beard, different hair, but the walk was unmistakable. They move in. Daniel ran. For nearly 2 blocks, he sprinted through alleyways before slipping on wet pavement. When officers handcuffed him, he reportedly whispered, "I knew this day would come." During interrogation, Daniel showed little emotion. He asked about the weather. He asked whether the football game was on. He asked for coffee. But he did not ask about Emily. He did not ask about Noah. He did not ask about Lily. When finally questioned about the murders, he blamed stress, then debt, then alcohol, then Emily. Anything except himself. That cold detachment horrified investigators more than the crime scene, because remorse can be absent in some of these offenders. Once the family is gone, they focus only on surviving consequences. At trial, prosecutors laid out the months of deception. Email showed Emily was preparing to leave. Bank records showed Daniel was drowning in secret debt. Search history revealed phrases like, "how to disappear without money," "how long before missing person presumed dead," and "just days before the killings." Can children suffer during strangulation? The courtroom went silent. Jurors needed less than 3 hours. Daniel Hall was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life without parole. But the sentence never answered the bigger question. What drives someone to kill their own family? Experts say there is no single reason. Sometimes it is narcissism. Sometimes financial collapse. Sometimes jealousy, revenge, control, untreated mental illness, or the inability to face public shame. But in many cases, the common thread is this. The killer values their own pain more than the lives of those who love them. They do not snap in one moment. They build toward it through lies, resentment, entitlement, and secrecy. And that is what makes these crimes so terrifying. Because from the outside, many look ordinary. They smile in photos. They attend school events. They wave to neighbors. Until one day, the mask slips. Emily's mother later gave a statement that left the courtroom in tears. She said, "He didn't destroy a family that night. He destroyed himself long before he ever touched them." Those words echo far beyond one case. Because the real danger often begins long before violence. It begins when control replaces love, when ego replaces responsibility, when image matters more than truth, and when those cracks are ignored, tragedy can move in quietly. So the next time a family looks perfect from the outside, remember this story. Sometimes the most dangerous houses are the quietest ones, and sometimes the person tucking the children into bed is already planning the unthinkable. If you want more true crime stories that explore the darkest corners of the human mind, subscribe now, because some monsters don't hide in shadows. They live at the dinner table.